This is CES MMA.
Scott, we would be remiss if we did not congratulate Greg Rebello on the birth of his first child as well.
Everybody's having kids. Him and Andre both.
The CES baby boom. Here we go, round number one in the light heavyweight division. Greg Rebello in the orange
Straight
and yellow.
left hand right away by Greg.
Comes right out of the gate. Chris Guillen in the black trunks with his back press against that cage.
And you see Chris going very deep over Greg's chest to try to prevent this takedown while throwing elbows. Greg does find that takedown, and now he's going to pin Chris against the cage.
Big early takedown for Rebello. We'll see what he does with it. 30 seconds into round number one. Rebello looking to snap out of it a bit. Has lost 2 of his last 3, coming off that loss to Mike Stewart in February. Hasn't fought since.
Greg right now is still maintaining back control, and Chris is doing a pretty good job of not suffering any real threat at the moment.
A lot of people forget Rebello was the #1 ranked light heavyweight in this region for quite some time. He had won 11 consecutive bouts before he lost at Bellator to Dan Kramer.
Correct. And of course, Dan Kramer was a UFC veteran.
Yeah.
From the Tough Show, I believe.
He's certainly never been one to go into fights against easier opponents, right? He's been facing elite competition throughout. Rebello doing a nice job just controlling the pace. Again, like you said, the ground and pound.
Greg's a very strong wrestler, and as we were talking, that he did want to let his hands go, but as you saw, Chris actually, Guillen, he pushed that to the ground and was looking for that takedown, and Greg's very accommodating.
Now, Scott, you talked about the heavyweights who come down in weight, keeping their power. Is there any disadvantage when you come down?
If you're not used to coming down, it can really tap your strength. It can really fatigue you. Remember, there's a difference between actually making weight and making weight to fight. You need to be able to fight for 3 rounds, not just make the weight.
A lot of fighters find themselves in a position where they're just training to cut the weight instead of actually training for the fight.
Your fight should be in the cage, never against the scale. Greg's doing a good job right now, head control and hip control, and he has his back, and he's looking for the rear naked.
We'll see if he can get it.
He's trying to squeeze it. He's trying to push that down. And you can see where Chris Guillen's trying to throw these short punches up and fight this choke off. Greg's got it pretty deep. I don't know if he could stretch him out here, if he can extend his hips, get the hooks in and extend his hips. He should be able to finish.
He's tapping.
There's the tap.
That's going to do it. Greg Ribs Rebello with the victory. Rear naked choke in round number 1. Scotty took his time. He waited. He picked his spots. Didn't panic. And Guillen just could not fend it off in the closing seconds there. So a big win for Greg Ribs Rebello, coming off that loss to Mike Stewart in February. So Rebello now 14-4 overall. A nice victory. Really, Scott controlled the fight from the start.
Absolutely. And as we said, he started to let his hands go early. When Chris Guillen pushed in for the takedown, of course, Greg's very good with that. And Greg did a great job of slowly, methodically finding the rear naked.
Well, we're going to take a look at here how this one went down. You see Rebello just on top, perfect positioning.
When Greg finally got his hooks in, and it started to extend his hips a little bit, that of course tightens up the choke and stretches you out a little bit and exposes the neck more, and that's when the pressure comes. It's a real tap on nap.
A real impressive showing for Greg Ribs Rebello. He had, to worry about fighting off some cage rust when you get back in there. That's the last thing you want to have to contend with, but that really wasn't a factor here tonight. He ends this one pretty quickly. Chris Guillen just overmatched from the start. And again, maybe the cage rust was a factor for Chris as he came in. He had quite a long layoff, Scott.
Yeah, he did. And again, he's coming down. He's fought at heavyweight before, so he looked fine coming in. He looked like he made weight. He was very active into this fight. He looked like he tried to take Greg down. So I just think Greg was the better man tonight. He had good position on the ground. He maintained that position. He didn't try desperately to force anything. He was methodical, and he did a good job.
All right, and with that, we will send it down to our ring announcer, Bill Carpenter, for the particulars.
Ladies and gentlemen, your official time, 2 minutes, 26 seconds of round number 1. Your winner by a rear naked choke submission, Greg Ribs Rebello.